Right, welcome to my weekly 10 show. And tonight's topic is accepting reality and how that helps us to overcome anxiety. Okay, so before I go into that tonight, I just want to say that I've got a promotion that I released today, which is available to everybody. It's basically an ELI assessment. Now, the ELI assessment is an attitudinal assessment. Now, what does that mean? So this assessment, it's an assessment which helps us mirror how our perceptions, our attitudes and our behaviours in life reflect upon us and how they direct our lives for us, basically. So whilst assessing your overall ability to lead not only other people but also ourselves. So this assessment is gold. It really is when it comes to understanding ourselves and how our minds work and how our perceptions and things like that create the reality that we live. Each assessment on its own costs £250. You receive a 10-page bespoke report, which is personal to you, and you receive an hour and a half long debrief session as well with me explaining your results with you. And that's all for free. Like I said, normally I sell this for £250. It's part of my package as well. But for one time only, I'm doing 5 free ELI assessments to the first people who come and who want them. And one's already gone, but there's 4 still to go. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave the details in the box below. You can have a look and you can say, check it out and see what it's all about. And if it's for you, get in touch because it really is eye-opening. And it's brilliant. Okay, so I'm also available for one-to-one coaching. I do group coaching. I'm doing webinars, seminars, workshops, all sorts of things. I've just been invited to be a guest speaker at the Oval in London on the 18th of November to an audience of business leaders, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to be doing that talk in November. I'm also doing a talk in a prison, HMP The Mount, in December. Which they invited me to come and do as well. However, that also brings me on to tonight's subject, you see, because I was invited back to the prison last week by one of the people who works there to have a little chat with one of the guys in there because he was going through a difficult set of circumstances where he's now moving on from being in prison for 12 years to open conditions, right? And he was also serving an IPP sentence, which is what I was serving. Now, his issue is that he's very anxious about moving on to an open prison because he's worried about things going wrong. So what happens if he goes there and something happens and it ends up looking bad on him and it's not his fault, perhaps? So, for instance, if he's sharing a cell with someone and someone gets caught with a spliff or something like that, it will look bad on him. He has to go. He's the one who takes the blame. So he was sitting there anxious, worried, stressed, all about all the possibilities that things could go wrong. And so I was invited in to have a chat with him and help him and coach him through that. And it was reflective of a lot of stuff that I'd been through as well. So I could understand and relate to how he felt in that situation. So when you're in that situation and you're overthinking things and you're anxious about what all the possibilities that could happen, all the things that may go wrong, what happens is we get ourselves into a mindset where we convince ourselves that the worst scenario is going to happen. And we then become obsessed with that. We only think of that. Our perception is that this is going to go wrong. What do I do? And so then what happens is you become so anxious, so stressed that you just can't think of anything else. And it just takes you, it overwhelms you. And now that's relevant in everything in life. It doesn't have to be in prison. It could be in any walk of life. We all go through situations where we start stressing over things. It could be a job. It could be a relationship. It could be anything. It could be COVID. We start stressing over things. We get anxious. And we think, oh my God, what's going to happen if this happens? And, you know, before you know it, you've lost control of all your rational thinking and you start stressing over stuff and you become really bogged down by all of that. Low, depressed, angry, upset, frustrated. And that gets us nowhere, doesn't it? So this guy in particular, well, I had a chat with him and I sat down with him and I spoke to him about the worst case scenario. What could happen in the worst case scenario? So if he was to go to that open prison and, like he was imagining, the worst thing happened, he got blamed for something he hadn't done, and he ended up going back to prison and having to start square one. What would he do? And when he thought about it, he said to me, well, I'll just crack on and do what I've done all along anyway. Because the thing is, we've all been through stressful and difficult situations. We've all been through situations which have gone wrong in life. But what happens is we cope with them. Because every time we go through adversity in life, we don't just fall apart. Well, we might sometimes, but generally what happens is we learn from those situations. Now, relating that to my own situation, you know, I was anxious and stressed at one point as well. But when I went through all of difficult stuff, I found that I developed resilience, confidence, inner strength, determination. Because when things go wrong, we learn and we grow from those things. So when you actually accept that things do go wrong in life and things happen in life which we don't want to happen, you know, we accept that, we face it, we remove that anxiety from that, because we're saying to ourselves, okay, things can go wrong. Okay, what if it goes wrong? What would I do in that situation if it does go wrong? Then you tell yourself, well, I'd face it. I'd get up and I'd deal with it because I'm strong. I've been through all this sort of stuff before and I'll be through it again. And that's where the key is, because when you look back at situations in the past which you've dealt with successfully, difficult situations, we can identify what we did in that situation then. So, for instance, if you were in a situation like that guy there, where you're worrying about something that might happen in the future, we can also go back to a situation in the past where we were also worried about something that was going on. And just hypothetically, that did go wrong. What did you do? Well, I dealt with it in this way. So then what you can do then is transfer those same skills, attributes, beliefs that you used back then to the current situation. So you can tell yourself, well, I was resilient then, I'll be resilient now. I'll be determined now. I was determined then, I'll be determined now. I was strong then, I'll be strong now. And then what happens is you remove that anxiety, because you now know that whatever happens, you will cope with it confidently and you will come through it. And you will grow from it and you'll become much better, stronger for the experience. So that helps us then take away all of the anxiety. Now, I have a similar thing with whenever I go through a situation which I find suddenly I start feeling a bit anxious about or stressed about, I tell myself, okay, so I went through all of this crap in prison. I lost my family. I did this. I did that. What did I do then? And then as soon as I relate that thinking to then, and I look back at how I successfully dealt with trauma and difficulty and stuff like that back then, what I can then do is say to myself, well, it doesn't really matter what happens in life now, because I know that I can cope with whatever life throws at me. And that then breeds confidence, because then you know that no matter what happens, the worst case scenario, you will cope with it, you will deal with it. And that takes away the anxiety from any situation. So you suddenly start feeling happier about the situation, much more confident. And then what happens then is you start thinking of, instead of the worst case scenario, you start thinking about the best case scenario. Because that's what happens, you see. When we're thinking about all the worst things, we're not focusing ourselves on the things that could go right. Because that's what happens. We only ever focus on our perceptions of what may go wrong. And coming back to that assessment, the ELI, it shows us where our perceptions lie. So our perceptions about reality. So we might focus only on the things that could go wrong in life, but never actually on the things that could go right. So I said to this guy the other day, I said, so what could go right in the situation? And it completely stumped him, because he hadn't even thought about what could go right, because he was too fixated on all the things that could go wrong. And when I got him into that mindset of thinking about all the things that could go right, you could see a dramatic change in the way he looked. He lit up. He started smiling. He started joking. He was happy. He was relaxed. He was confident. That's because his mindset had switched from focusing only on the things that were going wrong, or could go wrong, I should say, to all the things that could go right. And when you do that, you start creating the things that go right in life rather than creating the things that don't. Because when you sit there manifesting all this crap in your mind, oh no, this is going to happen and that's going to happen, guess what? All you're doing is inviting that sort of stuff into your life. So switching your mindset to something that's much more constructive, a perception that is actually much more supportive of where you want to be in life, will actually then help you remove all of that anxiety and start creating the life that you actually want instead. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about. A lot of people are going through anxiety, and it's normal, it's natural, it's human nature, especially with all this rubbish with COVID going on, and it's natural to be stressed or worried or concerned about it all. But there's no need to be, because when you remove all of that stress and that overthinking from your mind, you're left with what you got now, the moment, this moment, and then you can create the life and the mindset that you actually want to be in, and live the life that you want to be in, experience it, choose the life that you want to be in. So that's what I help people do on a day-to-day basis in the one-to-one coaching. Like I said, I also do the talking about that as well. So if you're interested in finding out more about the ELI, because that is really brilliant, it really is. So I would encourage anyone to take that opportunity. It's free. It costs £250 if I was selling it normally. It's absolutely amazing, and it will really open your eyes up to how your mind works and how you create the life that you really want from that. And if you're interested, drop me a message, either email me or call me on the number in the box below. Okay, and like I said, also I'm available for one-to-one coaching. So have a great evening. I hope that helps some people, and I hope it helps people get out of that horrible, sticky, anxious mindset that people can get stuck in. And just remember, no matter what happens in life, you can cope with it, you can deal with it, and you'll become stronger for the experience. Okay, and I'll speak to you all next week. Bye bye.